Hi, and welcome back to Jack's Backyard. My name's Jackie Doyle. I'm really glad you're here. Look, today I want to talk about recycling. We recycle a lot in this garden. I've always recycled a lot. Even when I first started gardening, when we were renting, I like being resourceful. I like trying to make do with what we have. I like to repurpose things. I like to be creative with that kind of thing. So we actually moved into this property 12 months ago, and we built a lot of our infrastructure and garden beds out of recycled materials, just anything we could get our hands on, basically. And we did it from a budgetary perspective, but also just because I enjoy that side of things. So what I thought I would do today is actually show you some of the things that we've built out of recycled materials, and just some ways that I reuse, repurpose, and recycle in the garden. So now there are a few costume changes because I filmed a lot of this yesterday, but I had some issues with the footage. So I hope you enjoy. Now, first of all is our compost bays. These are made principally from the wood out of our fence that blew over one night, not long after we moved in. So all of the fronts here are all the palings off our old fence. The posts, the corner posts of it are also from that fence. And the corrugated iron, a friend of ours, I think they were pulling the tin off their roof and just had it stored in their backyard, and they didn't have any use for it. So we were able to pick that up for free. So these are the lids of our compost. The frame is a mixture of some old palleting that we picked up and more of the palings. Then, of course, there's what goes into our compost. We recycle all of those nutrients, so grass clippings, anything that we prune off bushes or trees is chipped up and put through our compost. All of our food waste, some of the food waste obviously goes to the worm farm, but a lot of it actually goes into the compost. Ash from the fire pit and any other sort of organic matter goes into our compost. So this 3-bay system is working really well for us, and hopefully it's really going to add to our garden in the long term. So you'll see in our main garden beds, I've got these raised beds. They're a mixture of wood and corrugated iron. The corrugated iron, again, was from our friend who had no further use for it. Also, you might have noticed our trellising. So this is actually some old fencing that we found on the block when we first bought it. And so I've just repurposed that into some trellising as well. So these were a really good find. So these beds are made out of some wood that I was able to recycle from my dad's property. It was all sitting there in a pile, and so we went to the effort of pulling it apart, seeing what would be able to be used. And we came up with quite a bit of really useful timber. So we've just been waiting for the right thing to make with it. So this little garden bed came about because I wanted somewhere specifically to grow my snake beans. So note to self, snake beans need a larger structure than the one behind me. But nonetheless, the bamboo came from my mother-in-law's garden. She has quite a lot of bamboo, which she cuts back periodically, so we get that off her. And the pavers were lying around in different installations around this property. So one of the main things that I found really handy, particularly when I was renting, was growing plants in pots. So I have a significant recycled pot collection. I actually bought very, very few of them and just sort of picked them up on the roadside for free, or found out that there was somebody wanting to give away some pots. And there was a builder next door for a while who used to give me pots occasionally from some landscaping jobs that they'd done. So I have a significant pot collection as a result. Now, the 7th thing that we've built out of recycled materials is my seedling tray. Now, this is obviously just some old branches from a tree that we'd obviously pruned. And this was new, the netting. I think I might have recycled the wire off. I don't know. It was tying something up. But this was actually out of necessity because I had these seedling trays and I could not find anywhere, like I went to all of the gardening and hardware stores and all the rest, could not find anywhere that you could actually buy a tray for that just sit in. And they're not all that solid, and so they needed a tray. So I built my own. I was channeling my own little handyman, and this is what I came up with. Now, the eighth thing that I wanted to talk about was, I've already shown you one way of using some of the potting mix bags, but what I do, because it gets so hot here in summer, and I've often got sort of little pots of things like seedlings and stuff kind of on the go all the time, I use these bags in the seedling trays. So we'll go away for a couple of days and I'll have them in there. I'll water them I'll put water in the side, and then it'll have a couple of days worth of water and hopefully survive until I get home. So that's another way that we recycle things and kind of make things work for us. The ninth thing that we built from recycled materials was my potting bench. So the sink we got on Facebook Marketplace for $20, and this frame I think was $50. And so we were able to put that together and make a really handy piece of infrastructure. But I've got some bigger plans for it, putting in a tap and having it as a space where I can wash things off and stuff like that. But in the meantime, it's just a really handy thing for me to sow seeds and transplant seedlings and stuff like that. So the 10th thing that we built out of recycled materials was this fence. We have a large dog who likes to dig large holes, and so as a result I needed a way of keeping her out of my veggie garden. So we built this using, there are some new materials in this fence, but the posts are they're old posts from my dad's property, and they are probably the only thing that I probably should have used as new, because they were really hard to work with. It was hard to attach stuff to them, and they made the job really hard. It looks really nice, but in hindsight, probably would have been better to use something a bit more hardy. It's probably also not going to last all that long, but it looks nice in the meantime. So this is actually relatively new to our garden. My husband just put these racks together. It's basically to house all of the recycled materials that we have. So we've found a significant amount of wood sort of laying around the place, as well as the leftover wood from our old fence. So this is, rather than sort of stuff kind of lying around the place, this has been a really handy addition to some of our infrastructure.
Okay, so as you can see, we do like to use a lot of recycled materials. One of the issues has been storage, which was why I showed you the storage racks that Chris has completed just recently. It was so hard having it all lying around kind of in our way all the time. We were having to move it all the time. And then there's issues with wildlife sort of living in there when you're mucking around with it. Anyway, so we do like to use recycled materials. We do like to be resourceful and come up with ways of using things in unexpected ways. So let me know the ways that you recycle in your garden or even around your home. It'd be great to hear. Thanks for hanging out with me.